You guys, look at all of these plants. They are bright and green and they have flowers on them and little tomatoes, and I even have a cucumber that's already this big, all right? And I'm here to tell you something. I do not show you the plants that I kill, all right? And it's not one or two, it's a bunch of them, because it is okay to kill plants sometimes. And in this video, I'm giving you permission to have a green thumb, but also to kill plants sometimes, because that is what happens when you have a life, all right? So if you're interested in finding out why I think that's okay, stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to Mini Urban Farm, a channel about gardening and homesteading in the suburbs. My name is Veronica and I teach people on this channel how to garden and homestead in a small space, in the suburbs, in suburbia, in an urban environment, whatever you want to call it. Alright, the reason I'm showing you all of my green, lush, healthy plants isn't to make you jealous, alright? It's really not. It's to show you that, yeah, I have this, but I also have this. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parsley plants, but then this was a parsley plant, and that was a parsley plant, that one, and that one, and that one, and they didn't seem to really make it. And that is okay, because I know that not all plants are going to survive, because I know that I am not a perfect person and I am not going to water the plants and give them the sun and give them the drainage and give them all of the stuff that they actually need in order to survive all of the time, because I am not perfect. But I want to share with you something. It is okay to not know what you're doing as long as you take the steps to get better if that's what you're trying to do. Don't just complain that you have a brown thumb, alright? Do something to fix it if you want to have a green thumb. In my last video, I talked all about having a green thumb and all the ways you can actually have a green thumb, but in this video, I'm going to do something different and just tell you it's okay. It's okay if you don't have a green thumb right off the bat. It's okay if you kill some of the plants sometimes. It's okay if some things just don't survive, alright? Because it took me a long time to get to the place where the majority of my plants do look like this behind me, do have flowers on them there, do have enough food to harvest for the table, and that is okay. It is a journey, alright? I started gardening over 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago even, alright? And I didn't know what I was doing. At first, I was putting 20 tomato seedlings in one little bucket, and then I would complain that I didn't get any tomatoes. But after a while I learned, and you will too. Alright, it is not a competition, it is not a look at my garden versus anybody else's garden. It is just your own personal journey to grow food for your family, to be more sustainable, and to actually take care of your plants and steward them well at the end of the day. So I am going to actually share with you a few steps to not killing your plants and to make sure they have what they need, alright? And I will be walking through those things in just 1 second. But I also want to share with you, if you are looking for that all-encompassing give me my garden now, alright? If you're looking for all of the information in one place, I did just come out with a workbook. It is a 46-page workbook to starting your urban vegetable garden, alright? I will leave it in the description below if you want to check it out. It is currently on pre-sale, which means it is 50% off up until May 14th, so you can get it at a discount, alright? And it is everything that you need to starting your urban vegetable garden, laying out the space, finding out what grows in your area, you know, companion planting, everything that you would want to know in order to fast track your journey to getting your garden to look the way it's supposed to. Alright, so now the requirements for how not to kill plants. So one thing that I get asked a whole bunch in my garden, alright, is whether or not these raised beds have a bottom. And they don't, alright? Because if they had a bottom without any drainage on them, then the plants wouldn't actually be able to release the water into the soil would get really, really soggy, and then all these plants would die. So the first thing that your plants are going to need is drainage holes, alright? That applies to raised beds. If they have holes in the bottom of them, then that's great. That would probably be sufficient, alright? They don't need to have no bottom, but the same thing applies if you have a little plant like this. You're going to need drainage holes. All of these holes on the bottom of these containers, they're not just for kicks. They need a place to release the water so that they don't get waterlogged and the plants don't end up dying. Number 2 is water. All of these little seedlings, these little seeds, plants, whatever it is, they need water in order to survive, alright? If you are underwatering your plants or overwatering your plants, they are not going to do well, alright? Check for signs like the soil being too dry. If the top layer of soil is dry, that's probably fine, but if you stick your finger in and up to an inch the soil is dry, that's probably not enough water and you need to water these plants more. Now, if you're seeing things like this little plant here was actually having some really orange and yellow looking leaves, all right, that's a sign that it was being over watered, which means that when I stopped watering it, look how green it is now. All right, these leaves have bounced right back and we don't have that problem anymore. Either way, you need to be watering your plants, whether that is through a manual method like this, or you have a little sprinkler which sets off at a certain amount of time and waters your entire garden on automatic drip. And the same thing applies to sunshine. All right, I'm gonna get over here where the sun isn't hitting directly. It is now sunset, but I know that in the morning at around 6 o'clock when it starts getting light here, this entire garden is flooded with light. The only place that does not get super flooded with light is that little area here, because I have a giant tree there that shades out that area a good majority of the time. But if you are planting things like this, right, you have little tomato flowers in here which are doing really, really well, and even some little tomatoes over in this space that are starting to come out, that is because they are actually getting the amount of sunlight that it is required for them to produce fruit. And the same thing with this little lemon cucumber here, which is just starting to mature. If it wasn't for the fact that these cucumbers were in a place where they get a good majority of sunlight for the majority of the day, then they would not be growing fruit like that. The next thing that you need to do in order to make sure you're not killing your plants is to feed them. The same way that we as human beings need protein and carbs and fats in our diet, these plants need nitrogen and phosphorus and a whole bunch of other minerals and vitamins and nutrients in the soil that if they're not present in the soil, your plants are not getting fed, which means that they're not going to be producing food for you and they probably won't survive. So here I have worm castings, all right? This is one way that I feed my soil, my plants, all right? Sometimes I brew this into a tea. You don't have to do this though. You don't have to create your own source of fertilizer, right? I have worms, which means that I get to do this basically for free, but you can buy something like this. You can buy something labeled plant food at the garden center, at the nursery, all right? As long as you're feeding your plants what it is that they need and not overfeeding them though, all right? You don't want to burn your plants, which is what happens when you over fertilize them. So as long as you know that they need a certain nutrient, right? Usually by looking at the plants and seeing if the leaves are a certain color, if they look off at all, you can look that up and see what it is that they're missing from their diet. Give them that, and that is a good way to make sure that they don't die. All right, and for this one, we are gonna come in close here to these indeterminate tomato plants that are growing on this back trellis. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think there's probably like 12 of them here, all right? But they're not crowded all into the same space. If you can see, the stems of this plant and that one back there, they are probably a good foot, if not a little bit more, apart from each other. The same thing when it comes to that one and this one and that one. They are all at least 8 to 10 inches away from each other, if not more. That is because plants need space. If you're crowding all of these things in, all right, in 1 square foot, none of them are going to survive. They're going to be competing for space, competing for nutrients in the soil, and all of them will die. The same thing here, right? I know it looks like a whole mess of bush beans, but each of these bush beans, which now have tons and tons of leaves, all of these are planted at either 6, 7, 8, or 9 per square foot. All right, you can go as few as 6 or even 4 if you really want to, or as much as 9. I have experimented here with different varieties and different spacing. You can tell these ones are a little bit bushier and a little bit bigger, probably because of the variety and the fact that they are given a little bit more space, but each of them has the appropriate spacing that they need in order to actually produce. If you are giving your plants what they need, the space, the water, the nutrients, all of the stuff that they're asking for, then you have such a better chance at not killing your plants and them actually doing well, just like all of these are really doing well and are going to be producing fruits and vegetables here in not so long of amount of time. All right, if you find this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the Starting Your Urban Vegetable Garden workbook for a complete guide on how to set up your own urban vegetable garden, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.